Hi, it's Angela from North Carolina. Welcome to Movie Mondays. Today we're featuring Loretta Lynn's Crisco days. Most everyone knows that Loretta was the queen of country music, but a big surprise may be that Loretta Lynn was a prize-winning cook. Procter & Gamble owned Crisco shortening back in the day, and along the way they saw an old photo of Loretta where she won a prize at the Washington County Fair, and she won it for her fried chicken, and right next to her is a can of Crisco. So they approached her manager and wanted to know if she would like to be the Crisco spokesperson. And she said later in life that her Crisco spokesperson years were a real fond memory for her. She loved that her kids got to be in the commercials, because most of the commercials were filmed in her own kitchen at Hurricane Mills. And she even actually added on a real modern 70s kitchen to her haunted plantation. And I have been there and toured the plantation and been inside and seen the kitchen where she filmed her Crisco days. You can Google her commercials, and they're a time capsule of the 70s and 80s with really good home-cooked food. And she's got Christmas commercials and commercials from all different times of the year featuring pies and cakes and everything. And they started in the 1970s, right before the release of A Coal Miner's Daughter, which was starring Sissy Spacek and Tommy Lee Jones, which was an Academy Award-winning film. And be honest with you, that's when mainstream America fell in love with Loretta Lynn during those Crisco years, because people before that didn't follow country music didn't really know much about her life. We didn't really know what an inspiration she was from, being married at 13 and a mother at 14. Didn't even know how to cook. Taught herself how to sing. But if you can ever get up there to Hurricane Mills, you'll have a real pleasure seeing it. It's really nice. I've heard that they've tried to rebuild a lot since the flooding in Tennessee. And the cookbook is fantastic. You're Cooking at Country. It came out in 2004, and I was there in 2005. So what is different about Loretta's fried chicken, and I've been making fried chicken my whole life, is I'm a double dipper too, but I double dip my chicken back in the original batter. And Loretta makes a special crispy batter. So first we're going to mix up our batter that we're using to dip the chicken in the basic old-timey way. And we've got poultry seasoning. I've got a 1/4 teaspoon. I've got a teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm using gluten-free flour. I've got some paprika, 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. It does not want to come out. It's real humid today. Let's throw a little bit more paprika in. I think my grease is getting a little bit too hot. I'm going to turn it down. And then I've got some poultry seasoning, which I'm going to throw in too, and some pepper, a lot of pepper. I've got, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. I'm going to use some more pepper in my crispy batter. But this has gotten really hot. Let me let it cool off for just a second. So now I'm going to make a crispy batter, and the crispy batter is the thing that I'm so excited about. Some of my garlic powder didn't come out. Hold on. Can't believe how my spice is stuck. That never happens. Okay, so the crispy batter, she uses 2/3 cup of flour, but you've got to use an egg yolk. And if you don't know how to get an egg yolk out, I'm going to show you. I did it backward because that's so see how I just did it in my yolk? You don't have to have a fancy egg separator. And now I'm going to beat it, because it has to be lightly beaten before I'm going to put my water in. And I've got 2/3 cup of flour coming in with 3/4 cup of water I'm going to put in first. If you've never heard of crispy batter, it's a game changer for fried chicken. I've always double dipped. I put my chicken in buttermilk, dip it in the flour, dip it back in buttermilk, dip it back in the flour. Well, then when I discovered the crispy batter, I was like, are you kidding me? I had no idea that fried chicken could actually be that crispy. So I threw in a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt into the crispy batter, and that's it. So we're going to see real quick if our grease is ready. You could put a couple drops of water, and they danced across, so they're ready to go. And I am using Crisco liquid pure vegetable oil. Loretta used the Crisco can that was like lard, but I just don't like that, so I'm not using that. Here comes my flour. Duh. Thought something looked funny about my crispy batter. I'm so worried about my oil burning my chicken. Okay, so I'm going to whip this up real quick. And you do know that when you put your chicken in, you only try to turn it one time, unless it's an absolute emergency that you have to turn the chicken. It just makes the batter stay on so much better that way. And then, of course, afterwards we're going to put it on some paper towels and let the grease drain off. So I've got that just about beat up. My chicken's already been washed and patted dry. So here we go. I'm going to put it in my regular batter. Where's my tongs? Oh Lord, I can't cook without my tongs. Here they are. Now I'm going to put it in my crispy batter. Turn it over one time. Now I'm going to dip it. And you don't want it too thick. I'm actually going to tap it after I got it completely coated. I'm going to tap it. That's not there. That's perfect. Alright, I don't want it too hot because I want it to cook slow. I want my chicken to be cooked inside. So now we're going to go with another piece. I'm going to put it in my dry flour and dredge it. Dredging is when you just coat the flour completely, coat the chicken completely with flour. Got it in my crispy batter. Back into my flour. Dredge it again. The larger pieces of chicken are going to cook a little bit longer, maybe about 12 to 15 minutes at the most. The smaller pieces will cook a lot quicker than that. So this Loretta Lynn chicken, I'm telling you what, this crispy batter, you just never had anything so good. And I don't even eat chicken. But I could almost eat it. I will admit that I like to eat the batter if it falls off. I use boneless chicken breast. We don't like the fat. It's just so fattening. I know a lot of people do like to fry with their skin on, but we cut ours off. We always have. My mother did too, which was unusual back in the South back in the day. Alright, so here goes another piece, and I'm using an iron skillet. Now, if you're using an electric skillet, you're going to have your heat at 365. And I didn't feel like getting my deep fryer out. It just uses so much oil. It costs about $25 to fill it up with peanut oil. And I wanted to use Crisco to honor the Queen of Country. So you may have heard the story about Loretta when she first met Dewey, her husband. It was at a dance, and it was like a thing where the girls all brought something that they baked from home, and the guys bid on it. There was an auction, and so you picked out the girl you liked, and you bought, or you bid on her dessert or whatever she brought. Well, Loretta wasn't really a cook. She was only 13. She made chocolate pie, and Dewey loved her the minute he saw her, so he started bidding on that pie, and it got up to $6, which was a lot of money way back then. We're talking about the late 40s. And so he wins the pie. He sits down with her outside with her smiling. He's going to eat her pie and enjoy her pie. And he spits it out. Actually, he was sitting at the table, runs outside and spits the pie out. And she's like, "What on earth? You hurt my feelings." And he said, "Well, what did you putting that pie, he said, I didn't know that you could put salt in a chocolate pie. She put a cup of salt in her white chocolate pie. I mean, her chocolate pie instead of white sugar. And he married her anyway. And it was like within just a couple of weeks, he asked her parents if they could get married. He had just gotten in from serving in the war, and he fell in love with her just immediately. I'm not sure of the exact date. I should have probably looked up when they actually got married, but I do know she was real young and could not cook. She learned to cook by trial and error. She actually learned to cook from a lady that taught her how to cook up in Washington State. She rented a house from the lady and took care of the lady's nephews and got to live rent-free, and the lady taught her how to cook. That's all the cheese ready. Always make sure that you put it on some paper towels. Let the grease drain out. Isn't that beautiful? If you've ever seen prettier fried chicken. And to do Loretta proud, I'm serving it with caramelized collard greens. And I've got some fantastic homemade vegetable fried rice. Well, actually it's vegetable rice, not fried, that I cooked for a couple hours. That is really good. I think Loretta Lynn would be happy to come to dinner here. Come on by and stop in for some fried chicken, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.